My first business was, I started in 99, 2000. It was at the height of the dot-com when everybody was starting a business. I was kind of not quite sure what I wanted to do next. I had been in the tourism business and had been a tour leader. So one of my greatest jobs ever was right out of college, where I spent 4 years going around the world with American tourists. And one of the biggest things that we were dealing with all the time was lost and found. And so I would have somebody come up to me saying, oh, I left my favorite jacket at the hotel in Morocco. Or I left, my eyeglasses here. I left my camera there with all the pictures so far of the trip. Can you please help me get this back? And this was before the internet. This is before fax machines. And so I was telexing in many cases back and forth. And so I discovered that lost and found at a hotel is a huge issue. So I decided to start a company that was going to help manage lost and found for hotels and airlines. And I went to focus groups of security directors in Boston. At one point I gathered the top 10 hotels and met with their security directors to find out, is this a headache? Who handles it? Is it security? Is it housekeeping? Why don't you call me and say, you have my camera? That was the biggest thing. You know who I am. Why don't you call me and say, you have my camera, you have my watch, you have my jacket? And the reason why they don't call you is because if Tom leaves his wonderful red tie at the hotel, he doesn't call, because when the hotel calls, somebody else might answer the phone and she'll say, gee, I didn't know Tom was at a hotel in Dallas. I thought he was at a hotel in Boston. And when Tom comes home, he's got a pretty unhappy partner. So there's a whole privacy issue that came about because in many cases people are staying in hotels for non-business reasons. So it was kind of a whole new startling thing for me to realize that we were now dealing with a whole different set of issues. The hotels were very interested in this, and people were saying to me as I was doing this, Diane, you're doing so much networking. You're finding people who are willing to sit down and talk to you about this business idea. How do you do this networking? So I did a workshop on networking kind of in the middle of all of this, just kind of for fun. And the first date of the workshop was December 4th, 2000, and I kept doing more and more of them because people kept saying, this is great, this is great. I had bartered out with a company to kind of host, do the technology. So we were mapping out all the technology of, if you leave something on American Airlines, where would it go? And so it was going to kind of be the eBay kind of model. And you would go to the website of American Airlines and hit the lost and found button and say, I left it here. Or I would go to the Sheraton Hotel, same sorts of things, and have all these strategic partnerships. We would have a partnership with FedEx. You get the things back. We would have a partnership with Palm. When you register your brand new phone or your iPhone, they would know it's yours. If it shows up at a hotel, they would put in the key numbers, realize it's yours, and automatically you would get it back. And all of this stuff was going great until a little thing called September 11th happened. And so it was a very personal experience for me, September 11th, because my most likely funder was also on the American flight, and I had worked for Richard for 4 years, and he was killed on the first flight in first class. So all of a sudden, I had a personal loss, I had a business loss, I had a lot of money I had invested in this. I'll share with you that it's taken me 7 years. I paid off all the debts this last spring. So it's something that you kind of, I realize, very tough about what happens when you have that kind of a loss. September 13th, I was with 2,000 people at his memorial service, and obviously it was just a very different experience. 2 of the 4 planes had taken off from Boston, and so it was just a really emotional time. Next, clear out of the blue, I got a phone call from the Wall Street Journal. We've heard about your workshops on networking. This crisis has happened in the world, and people are kind of wondering what can they do. They're looking for business, they're looking for success, they're trying to just figure out how to regroup. Everybody says you have to network, but no one knows how to do it. Can we interview you on how you do your workshops? And I said, okay, and the Wall Street Journal came up to Boston, and I said, how did you find out about me? And she goes, I don't know, I'll go through my notes. And she went through her notes, and she found the name of a woman named Martha Donovan that meant nothing to me. But somebody had told Martha, and Martha had told somebody else, and the next thing you know, it went to the Wall Street Journal. I did my networking, and I contacted the Lenox Hotel in Boston. The Journal said, where should I stay? I said, stay at the Lenox Hotel. They're an environmentally friendly hotel. They're one of the first to embrace this. And I called the Lenox Hotel, and I said, you've got a Wall Street Journal reporter in-house. Please take good care of them. So I kind of did all my different weaves of networking. She came to watch me give the talk. And December 4th, 2001, exactly 1 year to the date of my first workshop, the article appears in the Wall Street Journal. And so I'm walking to my office in Back Bay in Boston. My cell phone rings, congratulations, you're in the Wall Street Journal. I said, thank you so much. And the guy says, would you like to buy a plaque? And I'm like, God love the USA. They're always going to try and sell you something every time you go around the corner. So 2 other phone calls happened that day, and as I was sharing with Tom, I don't even remember the order because it was such an extremely bizarre day. One call was from McGraw-Hill. Would you like to write a book for us? I said, okay. I've written articles before. I guess I could write. Sure, no problem. My parents had both authored books. A few hours later, the phone rang. It was Ann Thompson. I said, the one from NBC Nightly News that I see on TV. She said, yes, that's me. I'm like, why are you calling me? She said, I read about you today in the Wall Street Journal. When are you speaking again? I said, I'm actually speaking tonight. And she said, great, I'll send over a film crew if you don't mind. And I thought, I have to go home and change.